Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make soul cakes or Soulmass cakes, which are a cross between a biscuit or a cookie and a cake really, but more like a biscuit I think. And these are a very traditional old-fashioned type of bake dating back to the medieval times and running through, still popular into the 1930s by all accounts. And they were baked for All Souls Day, which is the 2nd of November. I think perhaps they were also used on the 1st of November, All Saints Day, but they were given out to the children and the poor at that time of year basically. And so I thought, being as we're coming up to that time of year, I would make these just as something different. I've never had them. In fact, I rather think as a child I would have probably liked going around and collecting biscuits off people, but I didn't. So it's quite a straightforward recipe. You mix some ingredients together, and those ingredients are the basic biscuit ingredients, plus some mixed spice and some sultanas or currants or other dried fruit. You could put chopped glacé cherries in, for instance, if you wanted to instead, but I'm going to use raisins for mine. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for the ingredients I have 420 grams, which is 2 3/4 cups plus 2 teaspoons of plain flour. I have 175 grams, which is 3/4 cup plus half a tablespoon of softened unsalted butter. 175 grams, 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. The yolks from 3 medium eggs, a couple of mine broke, but it's fine. That would be large eggs in the USA, the yolks of those. 30 millilitres, 2 tablespoons of milk, and you may not need all of the milk. 1.5 grams, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 3 grams, 1.5 teaspoons of mixed spice, and 50 grams, which is about 6 tablespoons of raisins. And that's all the ingredients, and the first thing we need to do is to cream the butter and the sugar together as we start to make our dough. So I'm going to put the butter and the sugar into a large bowl. And then I'm going to use my hand mixer, but you can do this by hand, particularly if your butter is as soft as mine is at the moment. And I'm going to whisk that until it's light and fluffy. That was very easy. So then I'm going to add in my egg yolks, and I'm going to do it all at once. You can do it one at a time, but I'm going to do it all at once simply because they broke. And I'm going to mix those through until they're fully combined. And that's good enough. So then I'm just going to set that to one side for a moment, and I'm going to put my salt and my mixed spice into the flour. I'm just going to give that a bit of a stir around, get that a little bit incorporated. And then I'm going to put that into the bowl, and at the same time I'm going to add in my raisins, and I'm going to mix that around on a low speed until it starts to come together. Now that's coming together quite nicely, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in about half of my milk, and I'll give it another quick mix round. And then I'm going to just squeeze that to see how easily it comes and forms into a dough. And if I need to add a little drop more of the milk, I'll do that as well. I'll just scrape down the side of the bowl first. And I can see that that's easily forming into a dough, so I'm going to squeeze it together. And I'm going to put that onto some plastic wrap. And with that on the plastic wrap, I'm going to just give it a bit of a squeeze to make sure it all comes together into a dough. And that's good enough. And I'm going to flatten that into a disc. Then I'm just going to wrap it up and I'm going to chill it for about 45 minutes. I want to chill that before I roll it out. And as the 45 minutes comes to an end, I'm going to preheat my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to line a couple of baking trays with parchment paper or silicone mats ready to take the biscuits. So then I'll come back in 45 minutes, we'll roll the dough out, cut them out, and we'll put a little cross on each one, and then we'll put them onto the baking trays and bake them. So I've taken half of my dough while my oven preheats, and I'm going to roll it out to a thickness of about 5 millimeters, which is actually about 3/16 of an inch. But there or thereabouts is good. I'm doing it in 2 pieces simply because I'm using my my rolling guides, and my rolling pin wouldn't be big enough for all of the pieces. And with that rolled out, I'm going to take a cookie cutter, which is about 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters, and I'm going to simply cut out the rounds and then roll the remaining dough and do the same. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each piece and I'm going to mark a cross on it. So I have a little piece of a skewer here. I'm simply going to press that down like that, and then do it the other way as well. And I'm going to put the cookie onto my baking trays and do the same with the remainder, rolling out the excess dough and the other half of the dough as well. So I have 8 on each of 2 trays, and I have another 14 that I've rolled out ready to go on the trays. So I'm going to put these 2 trays into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for between 12 and 15 minutes until they've turned a sort of golden brown colour on the top and they're baked through. I take them out of the oven and leave them for a few minutes on the trays before I transfer them to a wire rack. Once they're on the wire rack, I'll bake the remainder, and when they've all cooled down, I'll come back, show you the results, and we'll have a taste. I baked my biscuits for 15 minutes. Then I left them on the trays for about 3 minutes and transferred them to a wire rack. So they're just about cool now, and this is what they look like. So they've baked up quite nicely. And they're nice and crisp on the outside, but they have just a bit of softness on the inside as well. I'll have a taste of this one. That's very nice indeed. It has just a little hint of the mixed spice. It's not overpowering. You could use more mixed spice if you wanted to, or you could put some other spices in, but just that hint of mixed spice, then the occasional bite through into a raisin as well, and a lovely crisp outside and slightly tender on the inside. Now if you wanted them much crisper, you can bake them for a couple of minutes longer. The longer you bake them, the crisper they will become, but I think they're very good like this. So I hadn't heard of Soul Cakes or Soulmass Cakes until I found them last week, and I thought, well, I'll give those a go for All Saints Day on the 2nd of November. But I'm glad I found them because they're very, very nice. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.